Learning and development can be a critical driver in a company's evolution.
It just starts with making training usable in the real world. In operations, people are learning while the job is moving. So if training isn't practical and easy to use in the moment, it gets left behind pretty quickly. We try to build tools that people will actually pull out during the workday. I like to say that checklists keep training from becoming a checkbox.
That's Allison Meadows, Operations Training Supervisor at Stratas Foods, the leading supplier of fats, oils, mayonnaise, dressings, and sauces in North America. Allison and Learning and Development Manager Taylor Tagg joined DaVinci's Angeline Evans and me to talk about how meaningful learning experiences, trust, and connection can help employees navigate change and ultimately embrace transformation. Next on Powered by Learning.
Powered by Learning is brought to you by DaVinci Interactive. DaVinci's approach to learning is grounded in 30 years of innovation and expertise. We use proven strategies and leading technology to develop solutions that empower learners to improve quality and boost performance. Learn more at davinci.com.
Joining me now are DaVinci Client Solutions Consultant Angeline Evans and our guests Taylor Tagg and Allison Meadows from Stratas Foods. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
We're glad that you're with us as well. Let's start off by telling our listeners what your company does and also what your roles are.
Stratas Food is a manufacturer of cooking oil, sauces, mayonnaise, and different condiments. We primarily serve the retail grocery industry. We serve the fast food industry and various components. And then we also have our oil and many ingredients that you probably eat every day. People like to say that probably every fourth or fifth meal, you're probably eating a Stratas Food ingredient of some sort. And so we're happy to be a part of Stratas Foods. My name's Taylor Tagg. I'm the Learning and Development Manager and then also organizational change management lead in a large project that we just completed. So part of our goal is to help people, really develop themselves, find career paths within Stratas and then learn their way to the top if they want to go there. So thanks for having us.
Great. Allison, what about you?
Yes. Well, I'm the operations training supervisor, and my role basically is to take our large corporate initiatives and get them to the people in the plant, the boots on the ground. My focus really is just making training relatable and usable for the people that are actually doing it.
And talk to us a little bit about kind of the size of your company. Is Stratas Foods something that someone's going to see on their grocery store shelf, or is it a company that's sort of within the companies that we recognize as consumers?
Yeah, primarily Stratas Food is a manufacturer of other private labels. Some of the larger grocery store chains that you would recognize, you'll see our product. You won't necessarily see our name on the product, but we've got probably a little symbol on the bottom of the bottle that would indicate that Stratas Food made it. So, primarily we're manufacturing other customers' products for their use.
So there's probably a little bit of Stratas Foods in our refrigerator. We just may not know it.
Exactly.
Or on your shelf.
Right.
Or on your shelf right now.
Yeah. So I understand Stratas Foods has been navigating significant change lately, and I'd love to hear, just as L&D leaders, how are you aligning your learning strategies with the broader business goals from the start? And just talk to me more about what's going on.
Yeah, great question. We just completed a 3.5-year change management project into a ERP, overall arching operational system within the company, which kind of represented a huge, significant change for us, going from a very antiquated, very old, very manual system to a now modern ERP system. And the thing about this is that it was not just a change management project. It turned out to be a complete business transformation. Not what we do, but how we do it. And it probably affected almost every person in the company. And that's 1,200 folks in the company. So learning and development kind of played a role in that project. Some of the broader business goals that were key to this project from the start were really very strong executive sponsorship, people that were willing to walk that talk and put up the resources. The people that the project team, we pulled out people from their full-time jobs into this project for 3.5 years. Any of the top leaders from different areas of the project. That was to ensure that we were successful. And I think one of the things that was important to us was that we're creating this whole new whole new operating system, and there really was nothing to fall back on. So if we failed, we were really in trouble. And so that turned out to be an advantage for us as far as making sure that we were successful. We had this broader business goal. We will be successful no matter what. Stratas kind of has this mindset of just plowing your way through it and getting to success. And that's exactly what we did. Sometimes that's beneficial and sometimes it's not, but that helped us out in that regard. And then we had really one message that was from top to bottom throughout the whole company, that we were all in this together. We needed all hands on deck, that we were not really going to be successful if one department was more important than the other. We all had to contribute to that. So that was really kind of the overall broad business goals that were there. How learning and development, the learning strategy fit into that is that kind of number one, we had to really capture our processes. Too many times we had local knowledge walking out the door, people leaving, going to other jobs, and then there was nothing behind it for people to learn from. We captured all of our processes with documentation and job aids, and that was great. And then the second thing was we found out very quickly that people, especially in a manufacturing environment, they want hands-on learning. Let me take the wheel as fast as I possibly can. And so that was a 95% learning style that we found out within the company. And so that's what we did. We put them in the sandbox, we showed them how to do it, and then they failed forward from there, which turned out to be really successful for us. And then the third thing is that we encouraged other teams to kind of see upstream and downstream from their areas how this new operating system was going to work within the company. And in doing that, they kind of expanded their horizons a little bit. They weren't so siloed and focused on their particular area, but they got to see what was coming before them and then what was coming after them, which really kind of expanded their perspective and horizons. And so we tried to fit those learning strategies in with those broader business goals from the start, and that turned out to be very successful for us in the end.
It sounds very comprehensive.
It was, but it was a development, like anything else. We had to fail forward ourselves in many regards to get there, but that was all kind of the process that we all learned from.
It sounds very successful. It's a great story.
Yes. And Allison, Taylor kind of led into it, but how do you ensure training isn't just a checkbox? Like, what actually drives adoption and behavior change across Stratas Foods?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it just starts with making training usable in the real world. In operations, people are learning while the job is moving. So if training isn't practical and easy to use in the moment, it gets left behind pretty quickly. So we try to build tools that people will actually pull out during the workday. I like to say that checklists keep training from becoming a checkbox, which kind of means people actually use the tools regularly.
Right.
And that's when the training becomes part of the routine instead of just another completed assignment. But I have a story. This happened to me yesterday. And I thought, oh my gosh, this would be perfect for the podcast.
Breaking news, Allison.
Exactly. So I was working on a job qualification standard checklist. And I brought the draft out for review to one of the employees, and she instantly shut it down, said everything was wrong. And I realized that the first time I brought it to her, I was actually focused on the document itself. And so then the second time I came, I approached it differently and asked her what she wanted to see, what was most important, what would actually make it useful for the job. And the entire conversation changed after that. And she opened up and she really gave valuable feedback, and she became part of building it instead of resisting it. And I think that is a huge part of change management. People are much more likely to adopt something when they feel involved in it, and like their experience actually matters.
That's great. You made her a part of the process.
Yeah. So it was like an aha moment for me just yesterday.
That's incredible. So from an operations training perspective, then what would you say it really takes to translate change strategy into something that works on the ground for employees day to day? I feel like that story, is a great example.
Yeah. I mean, it really starts with relationships and trust from the very beginning. People are more open to change when they feel supported and involved, but they really need to feel that somebody understands the reality of their job. So from the training side, our role is to help make change feel more manageable instead of overwhelming. So like Taylor was saying, creating that space for learning, letting them play in the sandbox, giving them time to practice, listening throughout the process is so, so important. So we spend a lot of time checking in, asking questions, what's working, what are you struggling with? That feedback really helps us adjust before that frustration starts to build.
Yeah. It's really like a 360-degree view, what you're describing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry, I just wanted to add, supervisors are so important and a huge part to successful change. They're like the connection point, between the strategy and the employee experience. So we're introducing the change, but those supervisors are the ones that are reinforcing it through coaching, follow-up, communication. So it really takes everybody working together. And the more connected and supported people feel throughout the process, I think the more successful any kind of adoption is going to be.
I'm sure those supervisors appreciate being the ambassadors for what you're trying to do too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So Taylor, when you think about the roadmap, you and Allison have built, what are some of the biggest pitfalls organizations run into when they try to connect the L&D with change management? Because I'm sure that's something a lot of our listeners deal with. And how would you recommend avoiding them?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. As a person that was hired by Stratas as a learning and development manager and then moved into change management, not knowing a whole lot about it at all, I quickly found out that on the surface, they kind of seem like they work together and can fit seamlessly, but you quickly learn that L&D and change management are almost the two opposite ends of the spectrum. A lot of the L&D things that you're focused on, maybe a little bit more future focused, has a longer runway, to come to completion. But change management is presence in the now, figuring out the problem you're dealing with right now. And if you don't fix that problem, you're not going to get to tomorrow. And so, where L&D may be a little bit more of a concrete plan, change management is shift on the fly. It's complete openness to not completing what you thought you were going to complete and doing a 360 at a moment's notice. And then when you think about L&D being more of a lecture-based and teaching somebody a skill, change management is completely almost learning in the flow of work. And so in those regards, they seem on very opposite ends of the scale. But I did find a way for them to work seamlessly together. And as Allison kind of mentioned before, both of those segments, L&D and change management, you have to have people that listen really well and listen to your people and the feedback that they're giving you and the challenges that they're experiencing, the frustrations that they're, some people are hanging by a thread, may not make it till tomorrow in one of these large business transformation projects. And so in all regards, we had to listen really well. And I found out that L&D can really be almost like a communication hub for disseminating feedback, getting it to the appropriate people, taking care of those HR kind of hotspots, where people are at their breaking point. L&D really can function as a nice connection hub for all of that. And so, to kind of sum that up a little bit, L&D, change management have their places, but there are moments where you can work together, even though at times it seems very, very opposite.
Thank you for sharing that insight. And I understand you've spent a lot of time studying human behavior and personal development. How do you think that lens influences the way that you design change and learning experiences, especially for employees that are going through uncertainty that they experience when there is significant change at their organization?
Right. And we experienced it here at Stratas, high levels of uncertainty throughout the process, more so at different times than others, but I think everybody had that anxious moment where they're like, "Oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into?" And so, how do you move through those uncertain times? And I really try to design change or projects or programs around change where allow people to have a moment. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. There are a couple of things. Adversity has always been a teacher for me. It's always taught me something that I needed to learn in that moment that I may not have been able to do otherwise without that difficult circumstance. And then I also try to design things that help people mind the landscape, meaning they can pick out what's useful to them from the program, discard the rest, and then really focus on what they're strong at, their strengths, what they bring to the table. And then also too, that during significant times of change, people are creating all these new neural pathways, and it sucks, right? It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. And I always, preface this with this time, it's temporary. It will pass. This too shall pass. It may be uncomfortable now, but in a month or two, it's going to be like, you'll forget all about it. Right. And go back to that moment, creating moments for people. In 2006, I had a moment. I was driving down Cordova Road to Memphis, Tennessee, and listening to Dr. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. He was talking about the 13th principle of learning from adversity and defeat. And he said that adversity carries with it a seed of equivalent benefit that is greater than the adversity itself. You really must go and find that benefit that's within that seed, but it's there. And in that moment, I realized I had a choice. I could be judgmental about the things, the difficult circumstances that were in my life, or I could choose to learn from them. And in that moment, I kind of decided that life was not happening to me. It was happening for me. And that allowed me to assign purpose and meaning to almost everything that had happened in my life before that, which I had not been able to do before. Now that was a moment. That was a moment that changed my life. It shifted everything and everything that I thought about and how I approached my life. And in designing change, going through uncertainty, we try to put people in position not just to learn a skill, but to have a moment, to have a moment where their perspective changes and things shift for them and they see life differently now than they did before. That doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen for many people if your environment's correct. So that's what we're trying to do in many, many circumstances.
That's really inspirational.
It is. I love how you described that moment because that's why a lot of L&D leaders find themselves in this career and stay there is they love having that aha moment in the group somewhere. And those are those moments. So what a great way to describe that. So I know you all are both speaking at TICE. Is that correct? On change management?
We are. We're going to hopefully give some people who are going through organizational change or about to go through organizational change, some tips, some practical tips, some real life resources that may be a benefit to them. So maybe they can have a moment where they're going through their own organizational change.
Awesome. And for listeners who don't know, TICE is the Training Industries Conference and Expo in North Carolina, and it is in June, I believe.
It is. It's the middle of June.
Awesome. So I thank you so much for everything you shared. But before we let you go, I'd love to hear from both of you, with all of your experience. If you had to strip it all down, no frameworks, no buzzwords, what's one thing that you feel actually drives successful change in an organization? Who wants to go first?
Go forward, Allison.
Sure, I'll go ahead. Really, I think it all boils down to people feeling connected to it instead of feeling like it's being done to them.
Right.
When communication is consistent and people feel supported through the process, the adoption is going to look completely different.
I love that.
And I'll say too, there's not just one thing. There's many things that go into, successful change. But if there's one for me, and looking back over, our 3.5 year business transformation, and by the way, we were able to complete this project on time and under budget, which is very rare. It's very rare, and doesn't happen very often. But I attribute that to this point, is that executive sponsorship from the top is key. If you don't have CEO and the CFO and the executive committee that are on the same page and that are behind the project and the people within the project, and put the resources up, the necessary resources and the additional resources that you're going to discover along the way, it becomes really difficult to complete one of these things. The facts are, the stats are that only really 3 out of 10 are successful to completion. We talked to many companies before we went through this, and we heard a lot of crash and burn stories, and for various reasons, but completely key reason was that executive sponsorship and support from the top. If it's there, you've got a great chance of being successful. And if it's not, it's going to be maybe a tough ride. And so stripping it down, like Allison said, it's feeling like you're part of the process, you're in it, but it's also, you've got great support from the top.
Yeah, every level needs to be involved, it sounds like. So thinking back, now that you've come through this successfully, and certainly there'll be another change management on your horizons, is there anything that you've learned from this last one that you'll implement moving forward, kind of a lessons learned? It sounds like it all went very well, but anything that you walked away with that you'll make sure you do the next time?
I think, for us, we learned a lot of lessons on this one. And again, we were very successful with it. Because I think we were able to fail forward in many regards. We didn't have all the answers on the front end, but we learned, we grew, we did it better. I think in the next change management project, we'll probably have a key focus on not only the new processes themselves, but that the people involved in those processes have equal or greater attention to them. Because you can really get lost in the new process and how to do it and how it's going to affect everything. But if your effort lacks or it's not focused on the people doing those processes, then you really can suffer in that regard. And so I think, for us, some of the lessons learned is that the people effort is equal or greater to the process effort.
That's a great takeaway, great inspiration. All this has been really inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing what you've all done, and continued success to you in the future.
Yes, thank you both so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. We enjoyed it.
Yeah.
My thanks to our guests Taylor Tagg and Allison Meadows from Stratas Foods for joining Angeline and me today. If you have an idea for a topic or guest, please reach out to us at poweredbylearning@davinci.com. And don't forget that you can subscribe to Powered by Learning wherever you listen to your podcasts.